have an infection.
Bombshell, new reporting in the Washington Post. According to the Post, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and senior advisor, proposed setting up a secret means of communicating with the Kremlin. It reportedly took place at a meeting with Russia's ambassador to the United States, Sergei Kislyak, back in December at Trump Tower in New York City. Our justice correspondent, Pamela Brown, has late word on all of this. She's joining us now. Pamela, so what are you learning?
Well, we've learned, Wolf, through the Washington Post, that Jared Kushner asked Russia's ambassador Sergei Kislyak last December about creating a secret back-channel communication to Moscow by using Russian diplomatic facilities in an apparent move to shield their pre-inauguration discussions from monitoring from intelligence agencies. Now, as we know, we've reported, Wolf, that the FBI is scrutinizing this meeting along with at least one other one that Kushner had with a Russian banker as part of its larger probe into Russia's interference in the election. The meeting in question right now, though, was also attended by Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor, who was fired after a conversation he had with Kislyak. And according to the Washington Post, during the December meeting, Kislyak was reportedly caught off guard by the unusual request that an American would use Russian communications gear in its embassy. The meeting was relayed back to Russia by Kislyak. It is important to note, though, Wolf, that Russians will sometimes feed false information into communication because they're well aware that U.S. intel is listening in. But according to the Washington Post, officials believe that the information he provided was a reliable characterization. The White House has declined to comment tonight, Wolf.
Yeah, and Jared Kushner's attorney has declined to comment as well. Very, very thunderous silence, I should say. I understand the Obama administration, Pamela, had concerns about Ambassador Kislyak's interactions with people on the Trump transition team. What can you tell us about that?
That's right, Wolf. I'm told by former Obama administration officials that they were alarmed by the interactions Kislyak was having with members of the Trump campaign and transition, and they took note of these interactions. As one official told me, when Kislyak came to the White House under Obama, it was normally to be reprimanded. And then in contrast, the official says members of the Trump campaign and transition appear to be meeting with him on a fairly regular basis, more so than with any other foreign officials. Now, the repeated meetings were happening, as we know, through different channels throughout the campaign and transition. And it was puzzling, I'm told, that it was because it was not clear to those in the Obama administration what the Trump transition folks were trying to do by avoiding regular channels. Now, the officials were also aware, Wolf, of the phone conversations from Kislyak, where he would report back to Russia about cultivating relationships with members of the Trump campaign and transition. And there were those conversations between Russian government officials boasting that they could use those members to influence Trump. So all of this put together created concern in the Obama administration, particularly during the transition, Wolf.
Pamela Brown, thanks very much. I want to bring in our panel. Phil Mudd is with us. Dana Bash, the Washington Post Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter David Fahrenthold is with us. Laura Coates, Professor Alan Dershowitz, and Steve Hall. Everyone is here. A lot of good people. So, Dana, first of all, what do you make of this bombshell report in the Washington Post?
Look, it's hard for us to wrap our minds around it. How many times have we been in these days? But there are a lot of good reporting in here, but also a lot of unanswered questions. The biggest and most obvious is, why would Jared Kushner make such a, frankly, naive request to do something like ask the Russians to see if he can use their communications to have a back channel? It doesn't make sense on its face. Having said that, this meeting supposedly happened at the beginning of December. This was a campaign that frankly thought it would be disbanded and would go back to their businesses, and were suddenly a transition to the presidency of the United States. And they were trying to get their sea legs. And Jared Kushner wanted to be and became the guy who his father-in-law / president-elect would rely on to have, foreign policy contacts and be the foreign policy guy. So, look, the Post suggests this based on the officials that they've talked to. And I think that there could be something to the fact that this is a 36-year-old who lived his life in the business world of New York City, and this was brand new, and he did something really, really naive, if this actually happened.
Phil Mudd, the only thing I can imagine they would want to set up this secret channel of communications through the Russian embassy during the transition is because Kushner and Michael Flynn, who was also at Trump Tower for that meeting with Kislyak, the president's later fired national security advisor.